Hi everyone, and welcome to our daily show, The Big Story, where we discuss the hottest topics of the day right here in the heart of the newsroom. My name is Alyssa Wu, and I'm coming to you live from the Straits Times. We are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, do subscribe to our channel, and I'll be joined very shortly by my newsroom colleagues, where we'll discuss the topics that got you talking today. Now, over the past 5 years, the Central Provident Fund Board, or CPF, has clawed back almost $2.7 billion in unpaid CPF contributions from employers. The figure for last year was $595.9 million, up from $378.2 million in 2014. It was found that it was mostly lower-income casual employees who were losing out. Now, to talk more about this issue, I have senior correspondent Tan Elin with me. Hi, Elin.
Hi.
So I'd like to find out, why has the figure gone up over the years?
Well, I think the reason is employees are still not clear about their rights, okay? And in this story, we talk about casual workers, particularly security guards. So these are security guards who look for ad hoc work, well, whether on just any time they wish, on a daily basis. And what they do is they receive cash at the end of the work day, and that's it. So they are still unclear about whether or not, if they are just working for the day or just working a few days of the month, whether they are entitled to CPF. So this is why the problem is there. But in fact, the moment when you earn at least $50 a month, you're already entitled to CPF from your employer.
So is that $50 a day or a month?
A month.
A month.
A month.
As long as you earn $50.
Yes,
okay.
and your employer is obliged to give you CPF. And if you're earning more than $500 a month, then you're obliged to your wages, will be deducted for CPF. Yeah, that's by law. Yes, but people are still unclear about that. So so when they don't get their CPF, they don't fight for it because they're not sure what the laws are.
So in the first place, why is it that they're not getting their CPF? Why is that happening in the first place?
Well, if people are not aware of their rights, and of course there will be employers who will try and push it, and will try to save on costs. So I suppose that's what is happening.
And why are such employers, why are they getting away with not paying it? So it's mainly, you feel, just due to the lack of awareness on the employee's part?
Not only that, not only due to lack of awareness on the part of the employees, but also I think, of course, there will be employers who are, out to take advantage of employees who don't know. But there are also employers who are confused because, frankly, our CPF policies are quite complex. There are all these rules, and there are also some of the employers are also quite ignorant too. So they might also not be aware, or they might be confused. So we have all kinds of employers, but according to people in the industry, they are saying that the industry, particularly for the security industry, it's actually more cleaned up now. It used to be even worse.
Understand. So it's a combination of deliberate mistakes or honest mistakes. Is that right? And so in your story, you detailed it's mainly in the security industry and also the F&B industry.
Correct.
Why is it so rampant in these areas?
Yes. Well, it's particularly rampant because we're talking in this story about casual workers, right? Casual work. So it's in these two industries where they very often need suddenly workers. So for example, if there is an event at the National Stadium or there's an opening of some new shopping mall, they would suddenly want, say, a few dozens of security guards. Also in the F&B industry, there could be, say, banquets or some such events where they suddenly need, more workers. So that's when they ask for ad hoc workers who are then paid cash at the end of their shift. And because they they want to pay cash, and then many of these workers actually prefer being paid in cash because it's fast, right? They don't even have to wait for the next day for any bank transfers. So because they want it fast, and then the employer will say, okay, if you want it fast, then, and so it's net. It's $100 or $120 net. And then, these workers just accept that deal, without asking for CPF.
I see. Now you're on the topic of employees willingly doing away with their CPF. Maybe here it's a good time now to remind our viewers why we should not let our CPF go unpaid, because they do stand to lose out money in the long term.
Exactly. CPF, it's for the purpose of our retirement, right? And so every month that you lose, money, you will lose not only that money that you're saving, but also the compounded interest that come with it. Okay, so it's not a small matter. And also, this applies particularly to low-income workers, workers who are earning less than $2,000. If they are receiving CPF, they can actually apply for the Workfare Income Supplement, which is the WIS, okay, which is a subsidy from the state. The government will top up, not only give them a cash top up monthly, but also top up their CPF, to increase their retirement savings. So, but you can only apply for this if you are receiving CPF in the first place. That it is actually active. So people do need to think about, especially low-income workers, that if they actually cannot be bothered with their CPF, they are also missing out on this very important subsidy.
Now, clearly the CPF Board, they are doing their part to help these employees, but what more do you think can be done to solve this problem?
I think enforcement, it's really important. People shouldn't be afraid of complaining. They shouldn't think that it's a bother or it's such a fuss, because what I've heard is, people, firstly, they don't even know whether they are being cheated. And secondly, they think that, to complain, to go to MOM, it's just too much of a fuss. They don't want to do it. So, people ought to really know their rights, and they ought to make complaints and, get the CPF Board to check and to get their money back for them. This is very important.
What about some MPs doing their part to help people in their area?
That's true. There are some MPs and some social groups, that are going around to educate workers. So I think that kind of work, must be scaled up so that people actually know their rights, and they also need the assurance that it's not going to be so difficult to try to get their money back.
Because at the end of the day, they are the ones being shortchanged.
Right.
That's not fair.
Right.
Thank you so much, Ian.
You're welcome.
Now for our next segment, for the past few years, cigarette sellers have been peddling contraband cigarettes in housing estates, seeking refuge in nearby forests. They live in the forest near the Zhenghua flyover in Bukit Panjang, and they sell duty unpaid cigarettes to underage smokers in neighbouring playgrounds and housing estates. To talk more about this, I have senior correspondent Zaihan with me. Hi, Zai.
Hi.
Now, you've been watching this particular group of cigarette sellers closely over several months. Can you tell us how long, what you saw, and whether you actually got to speak to them as well?
Okay. Initially, it started about several months ago as a story to look at people living off the grid, those living in the forest, in the drains. We were interested in drains at the time, but with the monsoon season last year, so logically you think no one would want to risk to stay within the canals or so on. So the story died down a bit, but we continued to look at the areas at least once every 2 months with my colleagues from the news team. Fortunately, my fellow colleague Solwan from Photo Desk, she noticed that, hey, there's this 1 or 2 persons loitering in the area. And when we checked it like 1.5 weeks ago, wow, the stars were aligned, and we saw almost everything. About a dozen men living in the area, using the canal as like a super highway where you can't really see them, where they can walk from the forest all the way to the HDB estate in Bukit Panjang. So that's how they managed to conceal themselves. And I guess what made residents upset is because these guys have encroached in the safety bubble of those living in HDB estates, peddling cigarettes in playgrounds, car parks, jogging areas, and to minors. Yeah.
Now, who exactly are these cigarette sellers? And I understand you also went into the forests, and I don't think you didn't see them in the forest, right? But you did see evidence of them having lived a life there.
Initially, we were frustrated because we saw clues that they were here. Like you see jeans well pressed, kept in plastic bags, shoes hidden, fairly new shoes, right?
Cologne in the air.
Yeah.
You could smell it.
Yes, but you don't see the persons until like 1.5 weeks ago when we saw almost everyone, right? And there we noticed a trend, a pattern. They will wake up in the morning, bathe using the stream water that flows into the drain, brush their teeth, wash their clothes, hang their clothes to dry. And we even followed them to see where they lived. And let me tell you, it's quite sad to see that nature park, that Chestnut Nature Park, with all the litter, bottles, and empty food packets and so on, strewn all over the floor. And this is the same place where you get to see wild boars, mouse deers, and some rare birds in the area. So it's encroachment in two areas, in nature, while at the same time, in our housing estates.
So who exactly are these men? Are they locals who are out of job, or are they foreigners who maybe they've overstayed?
We suspect they are foreigners. Whether they are illegal or not, we do not know. But of course, we went up to speak to them, and some of them have shared, at least 3 of them have shared, that they are Malaysians, in fact Sarawakians, working here as cleaners. So technically they say that they are legally hired. But I asked them, if you're legally hired, would you mind showing me your work permits? That's when they all walked away quickly from us. Yeah. So, we're not sure. So, but then again, they shouldn't be living off the forest. I mean, like, creating the mess and peddling cigarettes in the HDB estates. You can ask residents and they will share that, they noticed this group of men loitering, and these guys will bolt across the roads. And
across the expressway, 6 lanes, right?
Yes, so that's dangerous, not only for them, but also for the drivers. Yeah,
that's right. Now, there have been raids in the area before. Why do they keep going back to the same place? And they're clearly risking a lot. Or do you think they have nothing to lose? At most, they'll just be deported.
Well, the sale of contraband cigarettes have been going on for a long time, and you can tell the difference. Like if you buy a packet of cigarettes from a hawker center or coffee shop, it costs between $13 to $14, and you buy a contraband one, and the illegal one, it's about half the price. So therein lies the issue of making quick profit overnight. And these guys, when they sell, we're not sure who's supplying them the cigarettes. I'm sure it's a higher level, a bigger operation, more organized, but they have nothing to lose because they live off the land. They can hide. The hawker center is just within 15 minutes if you walk through the canal, and you're out on the roads, and you can go to the hawker center. So let me tell you, some of them are so bold that they meet their girlfriends, go to the market with their girlfriends on a Sunday. So we have pictures of all those. So,
So you've spoken to a few of them.
Yeah.
You've been to the forest where they are, and you did tell me earlier privately that there are lots of mosquitoes, the living conditions. I mean, you've done your outfill in NS, but even then, for them to live there, it's difficult. So how do you feel about the whole situation, and also for the peddlers? Do you feel any pity or?
At first, when we look at the story, when we saw some of them bathing, brushing their teeth, and they admitted they drink from the stream, right? Naturally, as a human being, you feel sorry. But then again, when you speak to the aunties, the uncles who say that, hey, you should write about this story about these guys selling to secondary school boys. Even a few of them look like primary school boys. So as a father, I feel, I hope my son doesn't, resort to something like this, buying cigarettes from somebody who doesn't care about your welfare. So, yeah, you feel that anger, you see. But, of course, you would hope that there will be change, something can be done, just like what the members of the public in Bukit Panjang, they hope that, that this matter can be looked into, and we would see it resolved like how UT Industrial Estate was. In the past, it was rife with contraband activities. Now, it's cleaner. There are more surveillance cameras. The forested areas around UT Industrial Area has been cleared, so they can't hide. Yeah, but to ask the authorities to clear a nature park, I think that's not right too,
So what else do you think can be done?
I think it requires a concerted effort from not only the, to curtail the demand side, but also the supply side. So you need to get more of the residents involved. Once they see such things like activities, I don't know, you can call the police, that's one thing. But what I know is that when we approach all these peddlers, their immediate instinct is to run. They're more afraid of you than anything else. This is not to say that you become a vigilante and carry an axe and threaten them. No, but you need to make them feel uncomfortable that they're not welcome here to do such activities. And I hope that the amount of junk in the forest, especially close to Chestnut Nature Park, can be cleared, because there's so many wildlife there, and it was tiring walking around, but we got to see all this, and I don't think it's fair that they should be surrounded with junk all over the place as a result of the activities of a dozen men. Yeah.
I understand. Thank you so much, Zaihan.
You're welcome.
Now, to read the full story and to watch the full video, you can check it out on the Straits Times website. Those were our top stories for today. For more news and videos, do log on to straitstimes.com. Once again, my name is Alyssa. For more big stories, join us again tomorrow, same time, same place.